Okay, we are live and this is impromptu. Welcome to those who may come in. I am Tony Sawyer. This is my husband sitting beside me, Clifton Sawyer, and this is our co host, Pastor Norman Armstrong. He's in the South Carolina and we're in North Carolina. So here we are. Yeah. So, what's the weather like down there, Pastor Norman?
It is cloudy. It's very cool. About mid 70s right now, so it's very comfortable, but very cloudy.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. It is. It's here too. There's a little bit of sunshine, just a little bit. It goes in and out, in and out. But anyway, I missed your Bible study last night because you
Yeah.
canceled it, right?
Yeah, I had to cancel it because of my mom being in an accident.
Yeah. Hey, Pat. Sorry, to say Pastor Linda. Oh my God.
Uh,
Hello, Linda.
yeah, Pastor
Pastor Linda. And then there's Lakeisha. Hello, Lakeisha. Is that someone you know, Pastor Norman, or is that someone that's new to us?
Lakeisha, yeah, that's one of my we call her our little spiritual daughter. Yes, yes,
Oh,
she's a member of
cool.
my church. Hey there, Keisha. She's a twin.
Okay, cool, cool. Well, I tell you, I wondered what in the ham sandwich I'm going to talk about today. I just
The ham sandwich. I hear you.
ham sandwich am I going to talk about today? But I have been dealing with a couple of things. How I've noticed how people can use positive confession, faith, whatever you want to call it, uh, to try to override what they're afraid of
Hmm.
instead of facing their fears so that there can be a resolve to whatever it is that they're afraid of. It kind of throws some people into denial. And I think it's happened because we were afraid to look too hard at those things that we are afraid of.
Hmm.
And we tend to, if there's something that's threatening, we tend to try to, well, I call it ostrich syndrome. You know, you stick your head in the ground and your butt still out. You think you're saying everything's fine in your positive confessions, but then in the programming that's running underneath all of those conscious thoughts is saying something totally different. And we aren't dealing with those things that are running in the basement, I call it.
Hmm.
And for that reason, a lot of us are, we find ourselves acting out or behaving in certain ways because we're afraid and trying to deny it. And I
Hmm.
don't know if that makes sense to anyone, but I've been noticing those things in myself. And I do remember this. There was a lady who teaches, who's a spiritual teacher. She says, her name is Shakti Katarina. I think she's Italian or French, one or the other. But anyway, she said that you must, when you're enlightened, you you must come to a place to face everything that you've been afraid to see.
Hmm.
Everything that you're afraid to see. You must come to a place to look at it and to acknowledge it. And mhm. And at that point, you may not be able to fix it, but it has to be acknowledged because it's the shadow side of ourselves that we try to suppress, and we don't allow ourselves to really be seen the way that we, without all of the baggage. uh, we try to force an image onto other people that we think people need to see that we are.
Hmm.
And being very transparent is a vulnerability
Hmm.
that a lot of people are afraid of. They're very afraid of that. So I don't know. That's just a couple of things I've been dealing with this week, and coming to a place of not being afraid to be transparent, not being afraid to be vulnerable, not being afraid to admit when something is uh, when there is something that I'm afraid of, instead of trying to override it with what we call positive confession.
Hmm. Um, it makes all the sense in the world, and it ties into what we talked about on last week, dealing with assumptions. Um,
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
talk about being transparent and so forth, we know again, based off of studies, one of the greatest fears to man is the fear of the unknown. All right,
yeah, yeah.
and because we don't know what to expect, but for some reason, dealing when it comes to the human nature, we always assume the worst. Always, we always think the worst is. We always think the outcomes are going to be bad, and so forth. So again, going back to when I don't remember who actually came up with the acronym of fear, false evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
We always is always something that we think is going to be our reality, and so
Hmm. Hmm.
because of again all of the positive teachers that came out concerning confession and so forth, you're trying to overcome once again that thought or that assumption that this thing is going to turn out right or people are not going to receive me when you
Hmm.
try to be transparent and be yourself. So again, it goes back to the fear of the unknown.
Yes, and I guess I'm dealing with that more than anything about the positive confession. We're hearing so much. It's like we're bombarded with this thing now that we create by our minds, with our minds. We're bombarded with uh, trying to manifest, and we're bombarded with the thoughts of trying to change this illusion, actually. And so we're looking for all kinds of shortcuts.
Hmm.
um, and I think that we've gotten on caught up on a bandwagon. I say I'm talking about the West. In the West, we in the West have really got caught up in this thing of manifesting what we want, and not realizing that a lot of that is simply a trend that's happening now.
Hmm.
And a lot of people, because they have been deprived or they didn't have what they needed, that is a very attractive subject
Hmm.
for them, and not to say that it isn't some validity to it. It is some validity to it, but we can get caught up in that and completely miss or completely overlook finding who we truly are and what we truly are. And think that because we find a level of success that we found who we are.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that makes sense either, but some people feel like if they reach a certain level of success, they have mastered life.
Hmm. Hmm.
And they use the positive confessions, and I don't know, maybe I'm just on my soapbox, but anyway, it feels like a lot of the positive confessions and visualizations and all of those things, they're very beneficial, but it seems like it's out of balance in some cases,
Hmm.
because it's throwing people off of the path of finding who they are.
It changed their focus. And so like you said, if I'm on that journey of enlightenment or discovering who I really am, and then all of a sudden there's something that comes up where I'm now trying to use the positive confessions to overcome. I mean, there's an old saying, a proverb actually, where it says what be will be. And so there are a lot of people
Mhm.
that get caught up in that mode where if there's something that's occurring in their lives that's making them so very uncomfortable, now, of course, fear is starting to set in because I don't know how the outcome going to be, but I'm already assuming that it's going to be bad. So now I allow my emotions, my mind, my ego. Now I'm in that I got to fix this mode because something bad going to happen or whatever.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Mhm.
now you
Mhm.
off course of discovering who you are. And so I believe that's one of those proverbs is from the Eastern cultures where what be will be. They don't try to fix things. They
Right.
just embrace the moment. Whatever happens, happens. And so again, we have been taught here, claim it. If you claim it, no, confess it, you'll possess it.
Mhm.
Claim it and claim it, and all this stuff like that. And when it don't turn out the way that you are trying to confess it or trying to speak it, now you're still yet upset and on the emotional roller coaster. And that's why, again, we only should be able to focus on the things that we can change. The things that we
Yes.
cannot change, leave it alone.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's
Mhm.
where I'm at. Things that I know I cannot change, I just leave it alone, and I just follow that proverb: what be will be.
Mhm.
The error is that we operate in what is called
Habitual.
habitual or habitable things in this dimension.
Mhm.
Here's what I just saw. Jesus in that day, positive confession didn't exist.
Right.
Hmm.
So
Right.
he didn't use confession, positive confession. What he did do was say what he knew that was reality and fact in his position with the Father and with life.
Mhm.
He didn't go around saying, I am I and the Father one, with the distinction that I'm not sure that I and the Father
Or I'm
one,
trying to make it
or I'm trying
happen.
to make
Make
it
it be
happen with
so.
by saying it. No,
Mhm.
he didn't just go around saying it. If he said anything, he was talking from reality of facts.
So you're saying that they weren't positive confessions, they were declarations of truth.
Thank you.
Exactly. That's what I was getting ready to say.
Thank you.
Mhm.
I ain't going around saying everybody. I used to wear a 26 waist pants, but I'm gonna confess that I can. And I,
I need to confess that I'm not going to buy the junk stuff in my grocery store and put it in my cart. That's what I need to
but the
confess.
reality is, you got a big belly, and the thing ain't gonna be confessed off. I ain't got no big belly. Jesus didn't go
Now,
around and said, "I am the Son of God," and my mama. No, no, no.
going back to the big belly scenario,
You
uh,
got. Mhm.
that's where I would make the statement: faith without works is dead. Because in order to get that belly
Let
down,
me say
it's
it like
going to
this:
take work.
faith with a big belly ain't gonna change.
That's it.
Well,
And,
you know,
and and that's how the faith movement was all about. It was all about the our
Trying to
confession
get something.
and exactly, rather than embracing. And that's another thing. I can understand setting goals and having aspirations or
yes,
whatever, but
yes,
one of the things that we have been guilty of, especially in the Western Hemisphere, is we don't know how to live in the now.
Mhm.
true,
We
true.
don't know, and because we don't learn how to live in the now, we don't enjoy all the things that are present at that
Mhm.
time, because we either thinking behind all the disappointments that we experience, all the regrets, and now we're trying to look forward to the future, and you
Mhm.
miss everything that's in your present.
Yes, that's
The
so true,
ego
so
don't
true.
want it found out about what that word you just used about Jesus not confessing.
It wasn't a positive confession,
Okay,
it was
but
a
the ego.
declaration of truth.
Okay, ego does not want the declaration of truth to be found out, because if it is found out, it will be unemployed, it will be fired, and it will have no job, and it will won't be begging for everything, and it won't be going around saying I'm happy and unhappy, and I can be happy if I get this, I can be happy. So I'm going to say that the ego and the monkey mind will be disassembled if it goes into the declarations of facts.
and
Exactly.
and one of the things that I do remember reading about, and it has been true in my experience, and I think in a lot of people's experience, when they initially have an awakening and they begin to see what ego actually is, not as a separate entity, but when they begin to recognize the egoic mind mentality that's flowing through them, a lot of them at that point begin to experience a limpness or the will going limp. So whereas I used to could muster the strength to visualize and hold it, that now is it appears to be a weakness there where I can't hold it because I realized that what was holding it before was egoic. And now finding a way for this pure essence that I am to do the same has been the is the goal, to find out how do I do all of this, create what is supposedly coming to the good that's supposed to come into my life, cause different things to take place in this physical world by my creating or by my manifesting. How do I do that now, not as an egoic self? Because before it was an ego mind self that did it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Does that make sense? So when the ego's being undone, there's a lack of will, a lack of willpower, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Where a person had the willpower to do certain, that goes back to the story of Jacob when he was wrestling with the angel and he was determined, I'm going to get what I need. I'm going to get what I need. And the angel hit his thigh, hit the inner part of his thigh and crippled him. This is what happens to those of us who come into an awakening and see the ego, begin to really see it. And then there is a crippling of the ego. And so a lot of the things we were able to initiate and activate and be motivated in is no longer there because the ego is what was driving it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And so now to find out how do I do that without an ego?
Mm-hmm. And
That's the goal.
and I discovered, it's funny that you say that, because I had a weird situation that happened to me, that was, matter of fact, Tuesday night. I actually, don't laugh at me. Of course, that's when my mom had the accident.
Mm-hmm.
And of
Mm-hmm.
course, everything in me just went a whole different level.
Right, right.
When I got the call, I saw my mom's name, and it was actually, I was getting ready to call her. And so when I answered the phone, I said, Mom, ooh, you're going to live a long time, only for the person to say, this is not your mother. I'm so and so, and I'm just calling to use your mom's phone to let you know she was in the back. And so immediately my whole emotions shifted right then and there. I mean,
Yeah,
she even said she's okay, but my mind went somewhere else
mm-hmm.
immediately. So immediately I
Yeah,
jumped in the car, took off, flying, praying that the cops would stop me, and didn't even think about putting on my hazards at all. But when I left my mom's house, that's when I connected with y'all broadcast on Tuesday. And I don't know what happened. I actually do not know. I wasn't sleepy, but I drifted. I didn't even see the end of the broadcast. But I went into this phase of, it wasn't like I was asleep. Something was going on.
Yeah, you sleep.
I actually heard, it was as if I was teaching people concerning the difference between the voice of God and the word of God. That when I
mm,
woke up like 12:05, 5 minutes after midnight, and I'm like, what just happened? And so all the stuff that was going on while I was in that, I'll say, unconscious state,
mm-hmm.
immediately I started researching all these different things. And that's when I discovered something when it talks about the voice of God and the word of God. We keep using the word ego. So now, for those that are Bible scholars, we often talk about the carnal mind, all
Yes,
right?
yes,
Or not walk in the flesh.
yes,
That is what the ego is. Because everybody,
yes,
when we say flesh, we talk about body. Or when we say
yes.
carnality, we talk about body. We're not talking
Mhm.
about the shell. We're
Right.
talking about that part of the mind, that ego. And I
Mm-hmm.
discovered there's also a super ego, that
Yes,
part of the unconscious mind that acts as the consciousness of the ego.
yes,
And I,
Yes.
I did all that when I woke up. Like I said, out of that, I went through this mode of researching stuff, and the Lord was dealing with me everywhere where it talks about the word. The word came to me, and we're thinking that that's the voice. That's not the voice of God, nor the utterance of God.
Mhm.
That is actually making reference to Jesus Himself.
Okay. Okay.
So when we say ego, and for those that study the word, we're talking about the carnal mind.
Yes, and I'm glad you
That's
said
another
that.
way of saying it.
It's another. It's a very good way of saying it. A carnal meaning carnage, meat. So we call it flesh. It's the mind of meat. It's the meat mind. It's the mind that only relates to us as a body
Mhm.
and thinks that that is who we are and that is what we are, and that this right here is always threatened,
Mhm.
always threatened. So it fortifies itself with what it believes is defense mechanisms.
Mhm.
And so to
I
break.
love that explanation that you mentioned about carnage, and of course that deals with meat, carnivore, and
Mhm.
so forth. Um, and y'all often makes reference to the mind as the monkey mind is always
Yes,
act up from one place to another. But when you said that just now, that shows me another activity of the mind. It always has to feed. Feed
yes,
is always feeding. You got to have something all the time
yes,
going on to
yes.
cause it to be strengthened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. To reinforce it, yes.
Hmm.
To reinforce that mind self identity, it must constantly feed.
Wow. So that goes back to what you was talking about when we achieve these levels of success. And we always talk about once the new is going, like if I achieve a level of success, something that I had set an aspiration, eventually the ego is not going to be satisfied with that any longer.
Exactly.
It's
That's
going to
right.
look for something else to feed off of. So it goes on another journey of trying, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, reinforce itself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not seeing enough of God, or not seeing the full sway of who you are, is the problems come up like happy, unhappy,
Mm-hmm.
fulfilled and not fulfilled, more of God, less of God. All of that comes out of a lack of beingness.
Hmm.
Because if we are complete in Christ, then there's no happy or unhappy. Because if you ever see Jesus or Christ in full awareness, all of those things are automatic. So that tells me right there, when if Christ consciousness is the fulfilling of all of it, what is this that ain't satisfied and constantly looking for what the Lord promised?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is this that keep looking for the Bible to fulfill itself? It wouldn't make any difference whether the Bible fulfilled itself or not if you were fulfilled in Christ, because to be fulfilled in Christ is fulfilling the scriptures, whether you understand them or not. That's the shortcut. That's the shortcut to walking in the fullness of the word, is seeing the fullness of being one with God, or in that place of the Christ consciousness, which removes you from a lot of investigation. You'll only investigate only that is necessary from the mind of Christ.
Exactly.
And that ain't much, because he's to complete everything.
And this
If
is
And we ain't just saying that by cliche.
Mm-hmm.
We're saying it now. I'm saying it now because I don't quite get it yet. Yeah. I don't quite get it yet. That's why I'm saying it. But in reality, I know it's done been got. It's to be got.
Well, I do know
Yeah.
I do know that Jesus introduced certain rituals to free the mind. Uh, for those of us who believed we were broken and sinful, Jesus introduced rituals that we could follow that would free the mind from that belief. So, deliverance is not so much being freed from a dark energy or a demon. it's freeing the mind from the errors of belief that it's had.
The conditions that was imposed upon it.
Yes, the beliefs that it's held on to as defense mechanisms to protect that carnal part of us, because it's always threatened.
I just thought about something. My wife was washing clothes, and I got it one morning. I was going to get some fresh underclothes, and I reached in the basket and pulled out some underwear, and it was hers. And so I put them on.
And you couldn't tell the difference.
And I couldn't tell the difference.
Now, what does that say about you? Okay.
And so when I put them on,
what does that say about you?
No. So when I put them on, I knew they were too tight because I couldn't move my leg.
You also did that with one of my shirts.
And I put it on and I said, because nowadays, if you don't have good discernment in underwear, they make women underwear look like the men. So when I put them on, I didn't stop. I just kept on forcing them on up there. After a while, I got down the road there a little bit, and I said,
"You just let everybody know my underwear is not sexy." That's for sure.
No, I didn't say that. You said that they were too little.
But too
little.
Even though this is funny, but it's a great metaphor for what happens to us. You put on something that you was unaware of. You was not aware. You see what I'm saying? And so think about all the other things that we do in life, or we'll think a certain way. We'll put something on, or we'll check our lives out because we're unaware.
My butt was confessing that I had the right one, and my mind was confessing that it wasn't.
Look, Nicole said that really is oneness.
That really is what?
Oneness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you disclosed to the whole world about underwear is not sexy.
No, I did not. They were too little. I didn't say nothing about sexy. I said they were too little. I was confessing that I had the right ones, and I didn't. My confession was not based on the experience, but I experienced what it was like to have the wrong ones on, so I had to change.
You also put on one of my shirts.
But the only problem was I had a problem getting them off. They were stuck. And I couldn't get them loose, and so I had to call 911. I get 911.
Now I know that but I still say that's a great metaphor. Everything that you just said is a great metaphor because you said you put it on, you was unaware.
Yeah.
You felt uncomfortable. Something else was telling you this is not it. This is not yours.
That's right.
And then you said the next thing was you had a hard time
getting out of
it. All right. So think about everything that we're sharing. All right, talking about people have these conditions that they put on.
And I'm trying to confess, I got mine.
Exactly, and they're confessing something because inwardly, your authentic self know these conditions do not.
Yeah. I knew, Pastor. I knew when I put them on that was something wrong. I knew within that confession that I was putting on the wrong thing, but I didn't care. So I'm going to confess it anyway that I got the right ones.
You're going to make it work.
I'm going to make them work. I'm going to stretch them and the rubber would pop. I won't care. I get a pair of suspenders and hold them up. I don't care.
Oh my God.
But that's what I did. And I really found out that confession don't change the size of your underwear if you got the wrong pair on.
You're reminding me now, and this has nothing to do with what we're talking about as far as teaching, but
it does.
My dad was living. I decided to take my dad to California to see his sisters for the last time because they were getting up in age, and so he was afraid to fly, so I went with him, and we flew out. We stayed out there for about 2 weeks. Well, Dad had these gray flannel pants that he loved, but he had outgrown them. And he would wear those daggone pants. So we got there and we stayed in the same bedroom. We had twin beds, and he went in the bathroom to undress and put his pajamas on. He stayed in there so long, I thought something was wrong with him. Then finally, he came in the room and he was laughing so hard that he fell on the bed, laughing, crying. And I said, "What's wrong with you?" He said, "I had them pants on. I had already told him, don't wear those pants." He said, "I had those pants on, but I couldn't get them off." He said, "I thought I was going to have to call you in there to help me get out of them pants." He said, "I thought I was going to screw my feet off to get them off."
Ooh, they were tight, boy. They were tight. And he was trying his best to make a molehill out of a mountain.
So he finally retired those pants.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of the stuff that we done put up with and try to confess with a confession that does not fit the mold, the pants, or the size, we need to throw it in the trash.
Well, and I'm glad you make me remember when you said that. There are beliefs that we've had all our lives.
Don't add up.
That no longer serve us.
No.
And we're still holding on to them, and they're doing nothing but blocking us from having for experiencing our good. It's blocking us. So those negative beliefs or limiting beliefs, they can only be removed or retired, like my daddy's pants, when you actually see them and face them. Mm-hmm. If you've had that negative belief, that limiting belief that's been with you all your life, and like for instance, some people who've had broken hearts in their relationships, they take the idea that, or the belief, they adopt the belief that there's nobody else out there good enough for me, or a good man or a good woman, however you want to put it. And that belief begins to block them from their good.
Exactly.
Hey, I like going to join the Army or the Foreign Legion, and you got to practice shooting a gun, and you're going to stand there and shoot and look down, and you got the shoes on the wrong feet. You know
you're not going to hit anything.
You couldn't hit a cow in the butt with an ironing board. Hey, when I went down to Charlotte to be examined for the Vietnam War and get in the Army, They was drafting then. Mm-hmm. I went down there and they didn't want me. They did not want me. And
you were a reject.
I was a reject, me and another boy. And I said, well, now everybody went in the room, in the weight room, and sat down, and they called everybody back there in the back to swear me in. Well, me and this one guy was two of us, me and him was the only one still in the lobby.
Why did they reject him?
He was too fat. They wanted him to go home and lose weight. And you know what they said when they got to me? We don't want you at all.
But you deliberately did something to cause them to reject.
Well, I didn't know it. I had hurt my back, and the paperwork went down from the chiropractor. Well,
not only that, when you had the test, you deliberately.
Oh, I didn't know how to.
You deliberately flunked the test.
I had a ham sandwich and cheese, and so I just sit there.
They thought
I was sitting there drunk and eating.
They thought you were mentally challenged.
No, they said when I went down. They said, "You go home. We don't want you." So later on, I straightened up and I went down to the recruiting station and the information place where you. And I asked him. I said, "What does 4F mean?" She said, "You're not qualified for any kind of military service."
Well, you fixed it.
I didn't know I fixed it. But my confession was that if I went over there, I was going to die, get shot, and they ain't going to never make it back. That was the belief that you had. That's the belief. Yes. But it kept me out because the military that I did join was 24/7, Monday through Wednesday, January to February, December. I was in war with myself and just street life.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's true.
That was the military that I was in. And if I had went over there, I probably would have shot the wrong man.
Most people, well, yeah, in actuality, the truth is
that shot myself in the foot.
There is a war in everybody's mind.
Exactly.
Unless they've ended the war, it is a war in our mind. That's the battlefield, actually.
And that's one of the things that Paul stressed especially when he became enlightened. He realized that he was in conflict with himself.
Mm-hmm.
And
Oh
see,
yeah, yeah,
constant war.
I
yeah,
went to the doctor
yeah.
today.
Romans 7 is all
Yes.
about that conflict he
Yeah.
was having inside himself.
I went to the doctor today, and the mind is really something. I went to the doctor today, and she was asked me about my wife. She right here, and I went in there. And I said, "I got a problem, doc." I said, "She said what?" I said, "I got some pictures in my head where my wife been chasing me around the house, and I can't seem to get away from her. So I thought I was gonna have to dial 911 and take out a 50B for her to keep her distance from me because she was chasing me around. Don't you go to sleep? Uh, Chasing me around the house. Look, he done closed his eyes. Hey, are you out there?
He's there.
You
Look,
talking to me?
yeah.
Yeah, I'm watching you.
No, you wasn't. You're looking
Well,
at
go
what you.
ahead and tell
Well,
us.
anyway,
I'm listening to you and looking at.
Okay. I said, well, I told the doctor, I said, I might have to take out a 50B. She said, why? I said, my wife is chasing me around in my mind and I can't seem to get out. The mind will make you think somebody after you. I was raised in a house where you didn't turn your back to because I was the doorman. You didn't turn your back to the door because you was always watching what's behind
And
you.
that's a belief
That's right.
that you adopted.
But
Mhm.
I'm glad that he used that belief because that's one of the challenges within religious circles, the church, when we talk a lot about demons and the devil and so forth and so on. I've dealt with individuals who supposedly believed that they were spiritual when
Yeah.
they actually were not.
Yeah.
They always thought somebody was after them or somebody's putting roots on them, or I mean constantly they come to me, I believe somebody putting roots in my house. I mean literally their mind just keep going on and on and on,
Yes,
believing that somebody is always trying to do something to them.
Mhm.
And so what
Paranoia, yes.
And
exactly
putting the blame. You know what? When I was in the 6th grade, I was sitting. We went to school and had no air conditioning, had them old hard wooden chairs, and we were sitting in class. Teacher was teaching, and we all in the classroom, windows open, everything. And he called on another guy to come up, but he couldn't come up for personal reasons. But when the guy said, "I can't get up," I was sitting in the chair, and here's what the mind do. I sat there and passed gas so loud it blew everything out of the classroom. And I pointed to a girl right next to me. I said to the girl, I said to the teacher, I said, she did it. I put it off on her.
Now, what does that got to do with what we're
I'm
talking
talking about
about?
how the mind will blame everything.
How your mind will go to those crazy stories.
I put the blame on somebody else I put nobody to blame but for me. He didn't put me out of the classroom. He had like it didn't do it, but everybody was stunned by it.
They should have put you out the classroom.
Hey, I told the nurse today, I said, I was in the 1st grade so long that they had to tear the building down to get me to go to the 2nd grade.
He's so silly. You see, his mind is really a monkey mind. It's really a monkey mind.
Yeah. It's jumping all over the place. It's swinging today.
I went in the girl's bathroom and I looked in there and I said, "There's something wrong with this thing. Everybody ain't got no urinal in here. There's something wrong with this thing. I need to go report this to the principal or somebody." I said, "This thing is all messed up. Ain't nothing in here for the men." And I didn't realize I was in the wrong bathroom.
That happened to me when I was in college.
You made it out, didn't you?
I was having that's when I dealt with allergies real bad. I dealt with allergies real bad, and so I used to suffer from hay fever. So I went to class that day. I should have stayed in my dorm room, but I went to class and I went to the restroom before I got there, and I went into the classroom, and I couldn't find a urinal at all. So we went to the regular toilet. The girls kept coming in, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing here?" They started screaming. I'm like,
yeah.
He said, "You in the wrong bathroom." I said, "No, I'm not." Not realizing there is no urinal.
Yeah. Okay, here's another one.
I was embarrassed.
Pastor Norman, I used to watch the guys that come into church, the older guys, and when they wore their breeches, they wore them, they belt that was up under their armpit, and they wore them real high. And I said, I think I'll start wearing my pants like that. You confessing with everybody confess.
I remember that.
Yeah, you remember that? I went in the store and I said,
I remember seeing that stuff on TV. I was around.
Look,
I tried it.
a lot of guys when they grow a little bit of belly,
Yeah.
they'll push their pants down underneath it,
Yeah.
and wear them there.
Yeah.
But then there's some of us who pull them all the way up over top of the belly.
Well, I decided I put mine all the way up
Under your armpits.
But what happened was they slipped back down, and there I was stuck with two long pants legs dragging the ground.
And now, your crotch was down to your knees.
Now my crotch, I was over crotched.
This is not about the lesson. This is not about.
It is about. It's about facing reality and not doing what you see everybody else do because
But you are definitely not doing everything you see other people do.
I don't believe in that. I ain't gonna do it.
You are definitely unique.
I ain't gonna do it.
I said if he was rich, he would be what they call eccentric.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you don't have money, you're just strange.
Well, I mean, one thing, especially about Dad, that I love is he is so comfortable in his own skin. He's very transparent. He's gonna be who he is, no matter what.
Look, I'd say he's a conversation piece. He really is a conversation.
Yeah.
Pastor Norman, I got a 10-wheel tricycle.
Now don't get off.
Wait, hold on. A 10-wheel tricycle. And I kept working with it until I found out how to make it work like it was supposed to work.
Because everybody said you can't do it.
Everybody said you can't do it.
So you had to prove
but
that
now,
you could.
Everybody say, I'm going to read the book, I'm going to confess it, and I'm going to confess what they said that couldn't be done. But look, I practice what is truth. I practice what I knew was reality. And I know from day one that I found out how a little boy, I can take wood and make it bend like
I think you were an engineer in your other life.
Who?
You were an engineer in another
life. Oh, yeah. That's I believe that. I mean, all of the things that I see Dad do, you know, when I was there in college, first of all, we was exposed to your train collection. And
train layout.
On that, then you started building the dump trucks and all of the different heavy equipment machines out of wood.
Yeah.
I'd never seen done before. So I've seen you do a lot of
things. And then he started making his hats and his pants, and he still does that.
And Kathy, she remembers. She remembers. She remembered us over there. Kathy
said she remembers.
Yeah. And you know what? You know what? I taught them in the classes that I was going to bring in everybody in my church that was the actual operations of God in the spiritual realm of the supernatural. And I brought some in that was not in that. They did not fit the mold. I did not blast them, condescend them. I just loved them without even them being what I want them to be.
I like what Kathy said. Thank you, Kathy, for sharing this. She says, yes, Pastor, someone I love dearly closed the door to our relationship. I've been fighting for 24 hours. You all are a joy. Your laughter is healing me in my emotions.
Oh,
but it is what it is.
Somebody I love dearly, huh? Mm-hmm. Want to close the door. No, don't do that. And you know what?
We don't. They closed the door.
They
closed
okay.
the door.
Yeah.
But you know what? I love you and everybody the way you are. And if you change, as long as you don't drop the hammer on me and slap me and knock me out, I ain't gonna change about you. But yeah, I mean, you all right. I know some things that some people we're around, they don't look like church folks, and I see them all the time, but I don't try to change it. One thing I done find out about pastors and preachers, if they find out you ain't fitting the mold of the book, they'll try to change you, mold you, and make you like them. I don't want to be like them. They don't want to be like me. You know why? Because in Christ, the eternal self, everybody is the same. And you don't have to work at it.
Well, one thing I want to say, and this happened, like I said, the experience that I had Tuesday night, especially when you're in a place of being enlightened and awakening,
Mm-hmm.
thoughts like this came to my mind. What scriptures did Moses have? What,
Uh-oh.
what scriptures did Abraham have?
Moses had the Ten
What what
Commandments.
what written book did any of them that we talk about or preach about actually have?
Yeah.
Right.
They had none. And so it was amazing because you guys didn't even know what I was about to teach on Sunday, and y'all started talking about it on the broadcast. So I'm in
Uh-huh.
here,
Uh-huh.
I'm
Uh-huh.
jumping up and down, I'm
Mm-hmm.
popping when y'all started talking about the logos and the rhema. But
Mm-hmm.
there's a third word, and I posted that on there. It's graph. And so
I saw that, but I didn't get a chance to ask you. What is that?
well, we have taught again concerning logos as the written word of God and
Written.
written as the living word of God, and
Mm-hmm.
that's incorrect.
Okay.
Logos is what is mentioned in St. John chapter 1. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. And
Okay.
all because I taught on this Sunday from the title, the personification of the word.
Okay.
All right. Logos is actually what I just said, the personification of the word. It is making reference to Jesus, whereas Rhema is the
Okay.
I can
utterance
see
of
that.
God.
I can see
Rhema
that.
is the utterance of God, and then the
Mm-hmm.
word graph is actually the written.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You
Okay.
see what
I
I'm
got
saying?
you.
And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
when and it
Yeah.
was crazy because when I heard that when I woke up this morning, I'm like, the personification of the word. What are you talking about?
So Jesus was the embodiment of the word.
Exactly. And so I was talking about how the word took on human characteristic traits and so
Mm-hmm.
forth and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so this other thought came to me because this was the other night when I thought about, okay, is there anything beyond knowledge? Anything? Is there anything beyond intelligence? Is there anything beyond um, one's IQ? Because again, we talked about knowledge as the gathering of information. And so we've been talking about cumulative knowledge and revelational knowledge. And
Mm-hmm.
so the thing that is beyond knowledge itself is intuition.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is when you
Yes.
know something without
Yes.
anyone
Without
giving you
prior
information.
knowledge.
You intuitively know. So when Jesus said you should know the truth
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
truth shall make you free, there are things that during this time
Intuition.
of enlightenment that man can't teach you.
That's right.
Exactly.
They
Yeah.
cannot teach. And I'm like, wow. So when we go back to the Genesis narrative, when Adam and Eve supposedly took it up, and I keep it's something more to that, and I've been on that a lot
Mhm.
lately.
Really
They
good.
were in a state where they did not know good or evil.
Yeah.
All their whole existence or whatever they were carrying out was by way of intuition. It is when
Yes.
they ate the
Yes.
fruit that now they had knowledge of good and of evil. And so it surprised me because when I read it again, that's when God, according to the narrative, made the statement, now they have become like
Like
us,
this.
knowing good and evil. So in the original state of Adam and Eve, they were totally different.
Yes. Yes.
They were totally different beings who did not live by knowledge. They lived by intuition.
Exactly.
Let
Exactly.
me, let me bring this to you.
That's good.
Do you, to the wife and all of us talking, do you remember when I was breaking trains out in the yard, I took you up to the classification yard. You remember going inside of one of those train engines.
Mhm.
Okay, here it is. How many girls that you know, ladies, that's between a female baby, little bitty girl, uh, a toddler, a teenager, a lady, and a woman. I took her up there as a lady, and the first time she'd ever had the opportunity to go on up in an engine, train engine, go up in the inside of the cab and see how it worked.
Mhm.
Now, here's my point. I wanted her to experience this because experience knowledge. She had no idea, may not have been interested in it, but she saw something that did not correlate to anything that women or girls like unless they have an occupation in that position. Okay, at the time this was going on, no women could drive trains, but they might now. But now, her experience with this is what I try to give everybody that was in our classes in Greensboro and in our church. I wanted them to experience Christ, not from the letter, but from the living life experience.
Yes.
She had a actual life experience of watching that guy up in the engine part move that train back and forth on the track and put it back in position.
You just said something that I would consider very crucial, because we as ministers have thought that we presented God by presenting the written letter.
Yeah.
When what we are supposed to be doing is presenting the embodiment of Christ.
Maybe you're gonna make me pop in a minute now.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Personification. That's exactly what I was teaching on Sunday.
Yes, and that embodiment is what frees people. It's the presence that frees people. It's not the words. It's not words. It's not lessons. It's not.
That's
not all of that. It is the presence that a person carries that actually frees others.
I just saw a lady had a near-death experience, and she had a chance to see Jesus and the Father as one, laughing with each other in the eternals. That was an experience that she was receiving that nobody on earth could give her. She couldn't read about it, but she experienced it in a near-death encounter.
So our lives, the goal of our lives is to become not become, but to actually be the embodiment of Christ to others, so that they too will see Christ. And I've had this question kind of going off in me for the last couple of weeks. Why did God decide to become man?
And that's where I stopped at the other night, because again, he took on human characteristics, and that was the question that because I was up until about 2:30, and I stopped right there. Why, God? Why did you want to become man? Why did you want to take on these characteristic traits? I mean, we know through religious conditioning and teaching that was one way to free us, but I still have the question, why? I still have that question. And so that's the journey that I've been on since Sunday. Like I said, Tuesday, that event that happened to me, I was like, okay, what you mean there's a difference between your voice and the actual word? And so, Mom, you said it. We've been trying to present God through the Bible, and that when that thought came to me, the Lord said, okay, what book did Moses have? What book did Abraham have? Y'all call these scriptures, and all it is people who wrote down their own experience.
Yes.
And they was just as flawed as we were.
Yes.
Just as flawed. No one was talking about sending nobody to hell or nothing like that, and especially in the Old Testament. And see, the New Testament is not scriptures at all.
And this is the thing, Pastor Norman. We have the ministry, or we have the mission to administer the actual person of Christ. And so in order to do that, because it isn't something that has to take place here for God to come, Jesus has to come, and all of that. Jesus has already come. Christ has already come. But what covers Christ, and I should say veils that Christ from being that embodiment and allowing others to see him, we talked about this on Tuesday too, is the conditionings that we've had, all of the mental self that we've been, veils what is already here. It
Mhm.
covers,
The suit is covering up.
smothers what already is here.
The vessel
And
is
so,
covering up the treasure.
so it's more important than getting more information is removing and undoing those things that we've already learned.
If
Exactly.
God,
So
And,
it's not learning, it's unlearning.
that's right.
but remember, I shared that with y'all. I had that event that happened to me a few years ago where I heard the voice say, "I need you to forget everything that you learned,
Yes,
everything that you was
yes,
taught." And then immediately
yes.
my reaction from religious conditioning, from the ego part of me, I said, "The devil is a lie." Immediately it just came up because I'm thinking it's the
Right,
devil. I said, "The
right,
devil is a lie,"
right.
until some my true essence of who I am said, "No, that ain't no devil. I need you to
Okay.
forget everything that you learned." And as I went on and becoming
Mhm.
enlightened, I realized it was my religious conditioning that the Lord, like an onion, he was peeling those layers back so I could discover who I
Yeah,
really
yeah,
was and
yeah,
walk by
yeah,
intuition and not
yeah.
by cumulative knowledge.
That's it. That's it. And they were. It wasn't God's intention for us to live off of knowledge.
Exactly.
It wasn't it was God's intention that we would be life living as intuitive beings. And that requires an unlearning, a stripping off. And we've said this before. A lot of people's misconception of renewing the mind has been putting more information into it to cancel out the bad information, to put some good information in to cancel out the bad information, but that's still cramming. That's not renewing. Renewing is taking it back to its former original state, which
Exactly.
is pretty much a sponge to be free of all of the clutter of everything it has learned and accumulated.
Exactly. That means take that sponge and wring it all
There
out,
you
all,
go.
everything that it absorbed. And that's what hit me, like I said, Sunday and Tuesday, because when because we had talked about all script, Paul makes the same all scriptures given by the inspiration of God. He was not making reference to his letters. He was making
Right.
references to the books that was formed from the encounters of Moses, which we call, again, the Torah and the Quran, all right? And so when I start thinking about that, and when the Lord revealed that, he said, "No, there is a place beyond knowledge." And we'll say that knowledge is power. And he kept saying it. He said, "There is a place." And so when I came upon, I kept talking about revealed knowledge, revelational knowledge, but it's tuition where I'm operating and functioning without any information coming from anywhere.
That's
I'm
it.
actually walking in total oneness with God, which means I
Yes.
don't even have to think.
Without mental reference.
Exactly.
Without mental reference. And it's really the innocent state, and goes right back to the way we were from the very beginning. And so, and all of that and it isn't something we have to do to make that happen, because life is already intensifying everything that needs to be seen. It will intensify every event, situation, and until we see what we're supposed to see.
You know what's so crazy about this thing? When God prepared the heavens, we were there.
Mm.
And when he set a compass upon the face
A
of
compass
the compass, I'm sorry, a compass upon the face of the
of the deep.
deep. Do you know we were there inside with him without anything to do with salvation or being saved or being lost
Or being
or
physical.
being physical? We were there, every last one. I just told the guy at the doctor's office, I said, every last one of us in the universe came from God, and we can never die. I told somebody one that the only thing that died is the body. Now we got to find that
And
out.
in actuality, we did not even come from
Didn't
God,
even come.
because
He was always
there's
in
no coming from.
no
There's
We
coming.
no coming
always
from.
been
I
that.
like what Linda's just said. She said, "I conceal myself from myself and
Uh-oh.
reveal myself to myself."
Wow! I'm gonna tell the boss man to give you a raise, and tell baby Jesus It's done. It's done.
Wow. Listen,
I
folks,
like that.
we've had another great conversation. What is it?
What's her name has said that about her baby up there? She said Kathy Crumble talked about the baby. Says Pastor someone has done, but that's her
Her
baby.
baby?
Yes, it's
Her son.
her son. Yeah, her son. Yeah.
Yeah, her son.
And that's something.
Right.
These are people, Nicole.
Son.
All of these people remember us from way back there.
Mm-hmm.
That's Kathy Crumble. That's the baby.
That's the baby.
See right here at the bottom. Yes.
Is she? She's not the baby. Kathy's the one that's online with us.
Well, yeah, I know, but I'm talking about what she said.
She said her son David. That's
that's him.
Right.
That's him.
Yeah.
Well, I know. All I know.
The door to make a reference to the door being closed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, relationship. Yeah.
Her son David.
But
I'm praying, Kathy, that there will be an awakening for your son that will cause his heart to be turned back toward you, and that relationship would be healed.
Well, whatever it was, we just want you to be fully aware of you don't have to get out of town for sundown. You can now wear your guns on your hip and still be comfortable with them or without. You don't have to walk around with the Bible under your arm like somebody walking with a gun loaded all the time.
Right. Linda also says that Linda is the veil and God is the reality.
Okay, now
that's true.
Because Linda, you had to been a fly on the wall in the service on Sunday, because that's a statement that I made. I said, when someone asks you who you are, don't give name. I am. Just like you can't, because when we give labels and names and titles, it limits us. So now we're trying to fulfill something that's being projected on us, and that limits who we are. Is when we don't operate with titles and names and labels, that we are now unlimited. And so when Moses asked that question, who should I say sent me? I am. So I'm unlimited. So you can't put a label on me.
Yes. And we are done with our time is up. And Nicole, she says that explains a lot. She still has questions. So the next time we come together, bring your questions, Nicole.
I think she was one of the ones to talk to us personally, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Yes.
And they're saying thank you to you, Linda. Linda, they're saying thank you to you. That's why I called you Pastor Linda. Pastor
Linda. Okay. You guys don't take no wooden nickels, and keep your pants on you and your nose clean, because everything is working.
Make sure they're your pants too. That's a good thing.
Make sure your pants.
She said yes. Nicole said yes. She's the one that sent the email. Yes. Okay, sweetheart. I remember that email.
Yeah. Okay. We look forward to talking to you.
Yes.
And,
yes.
Everything is okie dokie, tied down on both sides of the road, holding it in the middle, and it's still working.
Hold on, Buddha Raka Shaka.
Oh, look at that. That's what my mama used to say. Hold tight. She said, hold tight, Buddha Raka Shaka. That's an old, back in the 20s and 30s saying.
Yeah, it is.
Back in the old tap dancing days, back there with Sammy Davis and all them boys back there.
I think my friend Oliver was here. Yeah, he was here.
Yeah, he was here. He was with us. Oliver J. Jr.
Hey, Ollie. I'm sorry we didn't say anything to you before
Oliver J. Jr.
But we're going to take off here and go get a little lunch. And I'm glad you guys tuned in to us, and come back next Thursday. If the Lord's willing, nothing changes. We'll be right back here again at 12:30.
Okay, hold it down now.
All right. See you later.
Y'all have a great